What's up everyone, Personality here bringing you all the latest FGC news from a competitive or casual perspective. So yesterday out of the San Diego Comic-Con, we've got two big reveals from Mortal Kombat. So the first trailer that they dropped for us actually details a bit more of the story, in particular around the Tarkatans, not just being a race, so there's this whole new twist on them. It's more so they're now these people who have been inflicted by this disease, and that is going to tie into the larger story in terms of, hey, these people can't even truly expose who they are because they will be, basically brandished as strange beings of this realm that nobody wants to associate with. But there's also the fact that we're getting how this all ties in to the larger plot at hand. And within this trailer, we got to see more fighters, more characters, more cameos, and it's all looking great. But the thing that is going to be on everybody's mind, while your favorite Mortal Kombat character may be returning, there's also the fact that Omni-Man, Homelander, and Peacemaker were officially revealed. So we're now seeing them for the first time in game, how these models are looking, and they look absolutely fantastic. Look, Mortal Kombat is picking up the pace right about now. There's always a discussion that has been previously had with, these new appearances of how the characters are going to look, or specifically in relation to the cameo characters, which game or which installment are they going to base their appearance off of? But the reveal of these three big names to this roster is definitely going to get that traction and that hype for Mortal Kombat dialed up beyond 100. It's that high right now because clearly they're cooking. And when they launch that pot in September, Mortal Kombat is definitely going to spark that discussion, just as it's doing right now. I mean, that's such an odd pairing. Actually, not really. Mortal Kombat has been known for having some bizarre crossovers that have not yet really been topped. Maybe Akuma in Tekken is up there, but Mortal Kombat is always doing the most with their crossovers. So speaking of Akuma, a Street Fighter character, we're getting an interview outside of Inside Games from Japan, who recently conducted an interview with both Shuhei Matsumoto, who is the producer of Street Fighter 6, and Takayuki Nakayama, the director of Street Fighter 6. Now, they had some interesting comments that they left for the readers of this article, but I'm just going to summarize and break down the most important points that they left in this discussion. So first of all, they're talking about the success of Street Fighter 6. They were overwhelmed, but it was something that they always were making that strategy towards ensuring that Street Fighter 6 was going to be a success. They went back to the drawing board with Street Fighter 5. They realized where they fumbled, where they messed up, and they said, look, this cannot happen with Street Fighter 6. And we can all see what that going back to the drawing board resulted in. Street Fighter 6 sold 1 million units in just a couple of days, fastest selling Street Fighter entry, and they were just blown away by the reception that is occurring right about now. But they're not just attributing it to them just concocting the most ingenious way to launch a game. They're also acknowledging that the fighting game community has grown, especially from a competitive perspective, not necessarily in terms of how many more people are taking part in competition, but in terms of the viewership. There's an increased viewership for this type of content, for these tournaments. They're getting way more eyes on them now. Overall, they've acknowledged that and understand they had to capitalize on the amount of eyes that these games were drawing in. And that's actually within the interview where they further spoke about the need for modern controls to be introduced into Street Fighter 6. Now, modern controls on a whole is a very controversial discussion within the Street Fighter community. Some people praise it, some people are ready to relinquish and get their pitchforks ready to go to Capcom and tell them, look, delete it from the game or allow us to just never match with modern controls. But they're saying that the use of modern controls as a way to make players feel like they can enter into fighting games, along with the World Pro Tour, was critical to not only grab the attention of newcomers, but try to captivate a casual feel to Street Fighter 6. It was rather important that they also did not want modern controls to be understood as easy mode. Now, that is the perception that currently exists within the community. A lot of people think that as soon as you put modern controls on, you instantly win. That is not the case, and that was never the intention of the directors. In fact, they just wanted it to be an accessible way for new players to get into the series. But not only that, it's not just limited to new players. Other, older, much more experienced Street Fighter veterans can use modern controls because it's not intended to be easy mode. But with the discussion of modern controls and as we see it develop on multiple platforms, on multiple different social media, there's always this discussion of who excels well with modern versus classic controls. But then the discussion comes up about the balancing. How are characters reworked? How are characters changed? And importantly, what they had to say is that at the moment, until the Capcom World Tour passes, which is sometime next year, once the official brackets have been done with and they're just ready to launch the tournament and get everything underway. Until then, they're not looking at rebalancing or touching up characters that much. Now, they did address that there was a through miss problem. Of course, the little tweaks in the game, they're going to be doing that. When new DLC characters get introduced, obviously that's going to be an update to the roster and overall universal changes will be made. But in terms of tweaking individual characters, they're not looking to do that anytime soon until the Capcom Pro World Tour passes. And even with that, they're only going to do it on a yearly basis. Now, this is usually the norm as it goes with the season. So season 1, we might see some balance adjustments. Season 2, we will see the same, but for now they're planning to have these updates or these general tweaks left to a yearly basis, and it's nowhere in sight. So no, jury is not about to get nerfed. I mean, one day a lot of characters might get touched, but for now no one is subject to any changes at the moment. And they also made it the core philosophy that they don't want to make any balance changes, especially around the time when big events or big tournaments are about to happen. Now, I think this was a fruitful interview to hear from their perspective that, look, modern is not supposed to be an easy mode, despite all of us who dislike modern sometimes. It is a core introduction that was needed to take the fighting game genre, especially even Street Fighter, to the next level, making it easier for new players to get involved. So what do you guys think about this philosophy? Should fighting games become much more accepting of new players? You don't want to make too much dramatic changes that would turn players to get involved. So what do you guys think about this philosophy? Should fighting games become much more accepting of new players? You don't want to make too much dramatic changes that would turn off your core audience, but of course it is wise for a business to keep expanding. And if it is that these cries who genuinely want to play fighting games could not get in, then I think it's definitely a great move for Capcom to make and overall the Street Fighter brand to make. But guys, that is all that we have to discuss today, and of course I'm still planning that Tekken 8 video. I've got a lot to say about this CNT, but until then, I'll see you guys in the next video, and of course, stay gaming.